friends, Pastor Chester Hitchcock here again with the Gospel Memory Course. Today we are doing lesson number 17, the book of Revelation. Now this is the last book in the New Testament, but it is not the last lesson in the course because the next lesson I want to do a self-test. And that way you can just watch the video and test yourself how you're doing through the entire New Testament. Now I will only have 50 questions, not 260, but it'll be a good opportunity for you to review and to test yourself periodically if you need to. Now, if you have not gone to my website and downloaded a copy of the workbook, you probably should do that so that you'll be able to review anytime, and if you're hanging up on one or two particular, you can go back and pick up on them. So the website is www.gospelmemory.org. gospelmemory.org, and download a free copy of the Gospel Memory Workbook. Also, we're going to be doing the book of Revelation today, and I'm going to be starting a new series after this called 15 Minutes in Revelation. And that way we will go through the book of Revelation just one chapter at a time, drawing out some really unique and fun things to learn about the book of Revelation. Revelation sometimes for some people is very scary, but just keep this in mind. The first 5 words of the book of Revelation is the revelation of Jesus Christ. It's a beautiful book. It's a book more about love than it is about fear. So I hope that you'll tune in and watch that as well. As we begin the book of Revelation, if you don't have a room that you've already chosen for the book of Revelation, however, since you've been with this throughout, you have probably already chosen a room. But if you haven't, then take a moment and choose a room, even if you have to push pause for a moment on the video. But what I like to do for the book of Revelation is, whether I'm doing this in the house or in a church, or wherever it is that I'm doing it, because I've done it in several different churches, is I like to find the room that's farthest away, maybe from the front door, because it's the last book in the New Testament. So if you are there, if you've got your book now, if you've got the room that you're going to put the book of Revelation in, let's begin. And we're going to begin now. I've changed my camera just a little bit here. It's the same room that you've been watching it in before, but to sort of just give you a different picture here now as we go through in the book of Revelation. You're going to need a tree, because a tree is a number 1. And we're going to place a tree right back here in the corner, and we're going to go around the room. And what you need to see in this tree, what I have in my mind, I have a picture of a Christmas tree, and in that Christmas tree are 7 candles burning. Now, back before we had Christmas lights that we would hang on and plug in, back in the old days, they would actually put candles on Christmas trees and light them. That must have been dangerous, but nonetheless, imagine that there are 7 candles in the tree that are burning, and you might even want to have 7 large candles beside the tree and around the tree. Why? Because Jesus is walking among the 7 candlesticks in the book of Revelation. Now, if you're not aware of this, the book of Revelation is full of a lot of symbolism that we'll be talking some about in my next series on 15 minutes in the book of Revelation. But the number 7 is going to come up quite often, even in this lesson right here. So Jesus is walking among the 7 candlesticks. There are 7 candlesticks in the tree, and there might be 7 candlesticks around the tree. And then you need what for number 2? For chapter 2, you need a light switch. And when you turn on the light switch here, chapter 2 and chapter 3, I like to see as a unit, because chapters 2 and 3 are about the 7 churches. And so what I imagine is that I've got 2 stools that are sitting here with like the little neighborhood houses that sometimes we put underneath Christmas trees, except all of these houses are churches, and there are 7 of them. You might want to see 4 of the churches on one stool and 3 of the churches on the second stool, because chapter 2 is the first 4 of the 7 churches. Chapter 3 is the last 3 of the 7 churches. So chapters 2 and 3, you turn on a light switch and you see 7 small churches sitting on stools. 2 and 3 are about the 7 churches. Chapter 4, what do you need for 4? You need a car. Imagine that you drive your car right through the wall or right through the doors or the windows or whatever is in that room that you are placing your pictures in. You drive your car into this room and you get John the Revelator, the author of the book of Revelation. You get John in your car and you drive him to heaven. Why? Because in chapter 4 is where John in vision goes into heaven and he sees a lot of things that are going on in heaven at that time. How did John get there? Because you drove him there in your car. So John goes into heaven. In chapter 5, what do you need for 5? You need a glove. In chapter 5 of Revelation, what you want to remember is that the Lamb takes the scroll. The scroll is handed to the Lamb. And what I like to imagine here is when the Lamb takes the scroll, he turns it around and hands it to you, or hands it to me in my memory. He hands it to you, but you've got to have special gloves on to hold the scroll while the Lamb reads the scroll. So you're using gloves to remember the scroll. The Lamb takes the scroll and then he hands them to you because you are wearing special gloves. Chapter 6, what do you need? You need a gun. In chapter 6 of the book of Revelation, you find the 6 seals are broken. This scroll is sealed with 7 seals. And there are 6 of those seals that are broken in chapter 6. Now, how did they get broken? Well, I like to imagine that Jesus just takes his finger like this, like a gun, and he just pops them right open when he wants to open them. The Lamb is the only one who can take the scroll and to break the 7 seals. And the first 6 he breaks open in chapter 6. In chapter 7, what do you need for 7? You need a dice. So right over here in the corner, you are playing dice. And as you are playing dice, Jesus comes over and says, enough dice, enough gambling. No more gambling. Throw your dice away. That is, if you want to be a part of my special people, the 144,000, a great multitude. What you'll find in chapter 7 is the 144,000 and the great multitude. So you throw your dice away and you lose the opportunity to win $144,000. But you gain the privilege of being a part of the 144,000 of Jesus. Chapter 7. What do you need for chapter 8? You need a skate. Imagine that you're in this room and you're skating. And as you're skating, you are racing with others. And as you come to the finish line, when you come to the finish line, there's a tape across the finish line that is sealed on both ends. And you skate right through that seal. This is where the 7th seal is broken. And as you skate through that seal, there are 4 trumpeters that start playing their trumpets. Why? Because in chapter 8 is where you find the 7th seal is broken and the first 4 trumpets. What did you find in chapter 1? Jesus walking among the candlesticks. In chapter 4, John is caught up into heaven. In chapter 2 and 3 are the 7 churches. And in chapter 5, the Lamb takes the scroll. And in chapter 8, you see that the 7th seal is broken and the first 4 trumpets. What do you need for 9? You need a cat. And right over here against this wall, there is a cat. And the amazing thing here about this cat in the book of Revelation is that there are 2 of them and that they are playing around with a couple of trumpets that are laying there. You know how cats like to play with anything. And they are playing with these trumpets, and suddenly those cats start playing the trumpets. This is where the 5th and 6th trumpets. You've already seen the first 4 trumpets. Now you find the 5th and 6th trumpets by the cats playing the trumpets. What do you need for 10? You need a bowling ball. And so you're over there and you're bowling down that side of the room. And as you're bowling down that side of the room, you are getting hungry and you're not doing very well. And someone comes over and says, hey, are you hungry? If you've got good scores, then I'll buy you something to eat. And you realize that your scorecard is not very good. And so you decide to eat your scorecard. And you decide to eat the whole stack of scorecards. Why? Because in chapter 10 is where John eats the little book that is sweet to taste but is bitter on the stomach. It's the sweet and bitter book. So as you eat the scorecard and a stack of scorecards, if I can say that properly, then they are sweet to taste, but when you swallow them, they are sour on your stomach. Chapter 10, what do you need for 11? You need a goalpost, and right over there in the corner you've got a goalpost, and there are two people standing over there, one at each pole with the goalpost, because they are there to witness when you kick a field goal. So here's your opportunity. Take the football and kick a field goal, and it's guaranteed that it's going to go through, and they will witness it. It's the two witnesses of Revelation chapter 11. Chapter 12, what do you need for 12? You need eggs. Over here you've got a carton of rotten eggs. Those rotten eggs are there for a reason. And the reason that they are there is because the dragon is chasing you, and the only way that you can escape is to throw rotten eggs at that dragon and feed him those rotten eggs so that you can escape. This is where the dragon is chasing the remnant, and the remnant is the church. What do you need for 13? You need a witch. And as you come around the corner, there's a witch, and this witch looks just like the beast in Beauty and the Beast. In fact, it is the beast, and he's got a witch's hat on. But he's also got a bandage wrapped around his head and his arm in a sling. Why? Because in chapter 13 is where the beast is wounded. Chapter 14, what do you need? A ring. 14 karat gold. And what you have over here in chapter 14, now remember, there are a lot of things in these chapters. But in chapter 14, what I want to remember is that there are 3 angels in chapter 14 who each have a message. And when they come and they give you their message, they give you a ring. And if you listen to all 3 of their messages, you will have 3 rings from these 3 angels. Now chapter 15. You need a paycheck, and as you come on around the corner, here is a paycheck, and this paycheck is actually the prelude to the 7 bowls. That's what chapter 15 is about. It's an introduction or a prelude to the 7 bowls. And so there's nothing on this paycheck yet, so you put it in a bowl right there to just save it there as an introduction at the beginning of the bowls. You've just got a blank check and you put it in a bowl. That's all there is to it. But you be sure that you're the one who put it there so that you can remember where it is. Chapter 16. What do you need for 16? You need candy. So I like to take these bowls and I like to imagine not 1 bowl, but there are 7 bowls here. And those 7 bowls are full of candy. But the candy is no good. Don't eat that candy. You won't like that candy, because in chapter 16 are the 7 bowl judgments. Chapter 16 with the candy are the 7 bowl judgments. Chapter 17. What do you need for 17? You need a magazine. Imagine that there are magazines all over this floor. And when you start picking up those magazines and looking at them, they all look the same. They've got a picture of a woman riding a beast. This scarlet woman who's riding a beast. And as you pick up the magazines and you're gathering them all together, every page are different pages of the same picture with the scarlet woman riding the scarlet beast. This is where the woman rides the scarlet beast, or the beast. Chapter 18. What do you need for 18? You need a voting booth. And as you come right on around the corner here, you've got a voting booth. And you're waiting your turn to vote. And when you finally go in to vote, you hear all of this babbling going on all around you, and you can't tell where it's coming from. Babble, 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 babble. Make it funny, because the funnier it is, the more you're going to remember it. Babble, 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 and then suddenly the walls of the voting booth fall over, and when they fall over, it reminds you that Babylon has fallen. Chapter 18 is where Babylon has fallen. What do you need for 19? You need a golf club. And here, imagine that there are golf clubs here, only these golf clubs are for polo. So grab a golf club, grab a polo pony, and go out and start playing polo with the golf clubs. And as you're riding and you're playing polo, here comes Jesus riding on a white horse with a golf club, not a polo club, with a golf club. And he comes riding on a white horse with a golf club in his hand. That helps you remember that Jesus comes on a white horse in chapter 19 of Revelation. What do you need for 20? You need cigarettes. And as you come on around behind here, you see the devil himself. There he is, sitting there in his red suit and his red tail and his horns and everything, and he's smoking. He's not smoking Winston or Marlboro or anything. He's smoking. He is really smoking. You need cigarettes for number 20 because 20 is cigarettes, but he doesn't need cigarettes to smoke because he's smoking and smoldering. This is where the devil is chained for 1,000 years. He is chained here all by himself, and he's smoldering and smoking. Chapter 20. Chapter 21, as you come around, there is a birthday cake here. And it's a beautiful birthday cake, but it wasn't brought in through the door. It was lowered down from heaven. And this birthday cake came and sat right here, wherever that might be in your room, in your house. But the birthday cake came down. And what is amazing about this birthday cake is it looks like a city, a beautiful city. It is the New Jerusalem. The New Jerusalem comes down in chapter 21. Why? Because 21 is a birthday cake. Imagine that there is a 2 and a 1 on top of a birthday cake. And what do you need for 22? You need a rifle. And standing right beside of that birthday cake that looks like the New Jerusalem is Jesus holding a heavenly rifle. Holding a 22 heavenly rifle, because Jesus has determined, he that is unrighteous, let him be unrighteous still, and he that is righteous, let him be righteous still. And there's no more decisions to be made. So, here you have in Revelation, chapter 22 is where Jesus says, he that is righteous, let him be unrighteous still. He that is unrighteous, let him be unrighteous still. He that is righteous, let him be righteous still. Chapter 21 is the New Jerusalem comes down. Chapter 20 is Satan is bound for 1,000 years. Chapter 19 is Jesus comes riding in on a white horse. Chapter 18 is Babylon is fallen. Chapter 17 is the woman on the scarlet beast. Chapter 16 is the 7 bowls. And chapter 15 is the prelude to the 7 bowls. And in chapter 14, you get 3 different rings from the 3 different angels who come with their messages. In chapter 13, the beast is wounded. He looks like a witch, but the beast is wounded. 12 is where the dragon is chasing the remnant. And 11 is where you have the 2 witnesses. Chapter 10 is where John eats the little book that is both sweet and bitter. Chapter 9 is where you have the 5th and 6th trumpet, 2 cats that are blowing a trumpet. And chapter 8 is where you break through the 7th seal and the 4 trumpeters start blowing their trumpet. The 7th seal is broken and the first 4 trumpets. And in chapter 7 is where you have the 144,000 in a great multitude. And chapter 6 is where the 6 first 6 seals are broken. And in chapter 5, the Lamb takes the scroll. And in chapter 4 is where John is caught up into heaven. In chapters 3 and 2 are the 7 churches. And in chapter 1, Jesus is walking among the candlesticks. That finishes the entire New Testament. And if you've gone through these 17 lessons, you've got these memory points anchored into your mind. Congratulations, you are able to walk through the entire New Testament frontward and backward in any different order. You do need to practice it. You do need to keep reviewing it. And so the next lesson is going to be a short review and also some other ideas about how to practice and review it. Thanks for staying with me through this series. I hope that you stay with me as I start this 15 minutes in the book of Revelation and that you follow that as well. But I am also going to be uploading the Old Testament Gospel Memory Course. In the Old Testament Gospel Memory Course, we're not going to do all of the chapters, But what we're going to do is do each of the books and find some memory points in each one of the books and anchor them in. And once you go through the Old Testament memory course, you will be able to walk through from Genesis to Revelation and say something about every single book. You'll be able to walk through the Bible and remember where to find amazing stories. Stay with me, and I'll stay with you. God bless, and happy memories. And don't forget, if you've enjoyed the video, be sure to click like. And if you have not subscribed to this channel yet, click on subscribe, ring the bell, and choose all so that you'll be sure to get a notification the next video that comes up. God bless.